Marty Ware here from Marty's Garden. I've got an awesome video for you today. Yes, pro worm farm feeding tips. My friend Permy Pete, who does this professionally, shares all his knowledge in this really cool video. And hang towards the end. I'm going to share some tips also so you can get your worms growing and breeding like crazy. All right, let's watch the video, shall we?
So this is just my worm cafe, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, I tend to show people a few different ways on how to use these. So this is the traditional tiered worm farm, so that people can actually see that.
We've got night crawlers and red wigglers in here, don't we?
Yes, that's right. So I run a mix of all four worms. I do the African night crawlers, the Indian blues, the reds and the tigers, and I find that it covers for the different times of year. So for summer you've got your blue worms that really dominate, and then when it's too cool for them in the winter you've got your reds and your tigers which come through. So awesome. It's a perfect mix all year round.
And we're going to the bottom layers here, aren't we?
Yep, so as the worms move down you'll find that the food's eaten and eaten more and more, but what I've been teaching people is you do have the ability to feed the worms on every single level.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. I was always feeding just top level.
No, well that's
I noticed they did eat at the bottom level, so but
yep. So as you can see, as
that's
we
pretty cool.
Yep. And then here's a night crawler here. So you can see that the night crawlers are a lot bigger worm. If you come out of there, buddy. There we go.
Come on, mate.
So
They're not going to feed you to the yabbies.
Yep. So you can still see that they're active, and it's pretty cold here.
Yeah.
That's a tropical worm.
Yeah, right.
And then so this is the real secret that I really try and help people out with, is that this is the bottom reservoir. Now this
is where I normally have the tank flowing out.
This is where you normally catch your liquids.
You're going to show me up here, mate. I've made a big mistake then, have I?
No,
I'm here to learn. I'm here to learn. Right, show me.
Just another way of doing it. And for me, it's about having a safety zone, particularly in summer when the conditions can get too hot. When you're feeding the worms are going to go somewhere and they tend to go down. Unfortunately for a lot of people, they've got their tap shut, and when the worms go down they struggle and they end up dying in the liquid. Now there are
I've had that happen.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now there's a few things in here like these stages or the lugs, the platforms that the worms can climb out, but I do find that when it's full of liquid it tends to end up sending the farm a little bit smelly. So there is a very important thing that you have to keep in mind when you're doing this method, and that is you've got to keep the tank or the tap open. So having it raised and having a bucket to capture the leachate is still exactly the same as capturing the leachate in the bottom.
Right. What I've been teaching and what I do is I have my tap open the whole time, and about 2 or 3 times a week I throw a whole big bucket full.
Yep.
Just catch it, let it drip through. I throw about 2/3 of the out on the garden, and I pour the other bit through to keep the microbes and everything happy with the leachate coming through. Is that right?
And that works, Marty. That works really well. So the big difference that I would then offer, or the suggestion I would offer, is to fill the bottom just with a couple of inches of pea straw or loosen mulch or something that is going to allow the worms to be able to go up and down. So as all that liquid comes down, it permeates through, and then what happens is you end up with a finer worm castings. So you end up with all the silt which comes from the top above.
Yeah, that's a great tip.
You can see that the worms are still thriving in here because they've got the right cover. The moisture is still freely draining, and I don't normally feed this section, but because it's winter and it's cold, I can feed quite happily without knowing that the worms are going to get too hot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's really a completely different castings because it's more of the sediment that comes down into this bottom reservoir.
There he is. Awesome stuff. I want to thank Pete for coming on the show. That was about 5 years ago we filmed that. Now what I've been teaching also is actually to take these taps off. You can feed on every level like that, but I believe feeding in the top part is the best, and still using the migration systems and putting more compost and stuff down below. I love that down the bottom where you can add some straw or add a brick or some of that so the worms can climb back up and they don't drown. And the feeding systems, as usual, don't overfeed because you're going to bring in pests and problems like that into the farm. So wait until all the food's nearly finished and then feed a little bit more. And, you know, obviously in the wintertime, you can feed it a little bit more because it doesn't heat up and get hot from the nitrogen breaking down in the worm farms. Now, we've got a little bit of a mini series going on here. So if you missed the last video to do with the worm bedding, so how Pete makes his professional worm bedding, I'm going to leave a link around here somewhere, up there somewhere, around here somewhere, where you can watch that video. And we've got more content coming out around the micro farm here as I film around here. We've still got people working on the roads outside, so it's been a bit noisy. That's nearly over, but I'm going to have another video coming out to do with watering from Pete, and that'll be a shorter one than this one. And then some other really cool stuff coming up. So if you want to keep learning about organic gardening, worm farming is the way to go. And it's one great way to grow amazing food at home virtually for free. All right, I'm Marty Ware from Marty's Garden. Give us a big thumbs up if you haven't already, and we'll see you at the next video real soon. Bye for now.